Welcome, everybody. Growth Watch, and especially Rajni, Sandhya, and myself are very happy at those of you who have been able to join us here on Zoom and those who will join us on Facebook. We realized that as Growth Watch, we had no Facebook page. And so we've requested the NGO Forum on ADB to loan us their space online. And so we are going online, on live from there. What is Growth Watch, some of you may ask? And well, it's a lockdown initiative. I know that several enterprises have actually hit the ground and also some have folded up during the lockdown. But we realized that the lockdown was a space in which we saw that a lot of unscrupulous elements, there's no better way to say it, who have scant respect for democratic spaces, have used the lockdown and the pandemic as a curtain to push through questionable projects that have been affecting lives, livelihoods, and the ecology, and all in the name of development and jobs and keeping the economy going. So our lockdown initiative, which we call Growth Watch, is virtually an all-women's team that wants to have, that doesn't want to keep running after projects have hit the ground and affected people already, but want to sort of anticipate what could happen because of these projects and try and see that we can change them, make meaningful consultations actually meaningful, etc. We started looking at the metro in Bangalore, and that's one of the things we're doing. I call upon my colleague, Rajni Rao Santosh, to please come and take us through this moderated panel session on the metro. Rajni.
Yeah, so since we have our panelists here, I welcome everybody, and I'd like to start. Can you hear me, Vidya? Can you confirm? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, very well.
Because we're a bit late, I would like to jump into the discussion itself. More than discussion, it's so Dr. Harini Nagendra from Azim Premji University, Mr. Raj Dugar from Citizens for Citizen, Sanjeev and Avni and Shaheen. Avni from Manthan Law Advocate and Shaheen from BPBV Bengaluru Bus Pranikara Vedike. I welcome you all, and we're very happy and we're so thankful that you came in such short notice. So we'll begin with Dr. Harini's presentation. Dr. Harini, it was a personal emergency and she could not come online at this scheduled time. So she's been kind enough to send a presentation. I'll hand it over to Sandhya now, who will take us through. And then we go with the other presenters, Raj, Sanjeev, Shaheen, and Avni. And welcome everybody from Bengaluru who've come into this discussion today. And I hope you will engage with the panel post what they have to say after their presentation. If you have any questions, please use the chat window, or after the panel discussion, after the panelists are done with speaking, you can unmute, put your name there, and you can ask your question yourself. I will be the moderator with Sandhya pitching in case my network goes wrong. Thank you all. Kindly keep your mics muted when the others are speaking. And you can use the chat window. I'll be looking at it in case you have any emergency questions. This for the panelists as well as the audience. Thank you once again. Please begin, Sandhya.
Thank you so much, Rajni and Vidya. Good evening, everyone. In case you were expecting to see Professor Harini Nagendra, as Rajni mentioned, because of a personal emergency, she's not here today. But since this whole subject of urban trees and urban ecology is so close to her heart. She has sent across her presentation. So I will today be her voice on this panel. So Dr. Harini Nagendra, of course, has been a voice for the trees and urban ecology for many decades now. And by virtue of authoring many papers as well as books, her voice and her opinion deeply matters to those who are looking at urban ecology and looking at projects that affect and disturb that urban ecology. So as we go into this presentation with that background, I just wanted to also say that if you have any questions, please do place them in the chat box. And if some of them need Professor Harini's input, we will take it back to her and come back to you. So by 2050, the world will totally be 75% urban. And as you can see from the slide, the global south will carry a big burden of that urbanization. And as you look closer and you zoom in on our country, you can see that there are many cities that fall in the 5 to 10 million population, 10 million and more, with growth rates, annual growth rates of 3.5% to 5% plus. With India being one of the fastest urbanizing countries in the global scheme of things, where does it leave cities like Bangalore, right? Bangalore started rapidly urbanizing in 1941-51, and in 1961, it became the sixth largest city in the country. In the last 2 decades itself, we've seen Bangalore's population go from 6 million to 12.7 million, 6 million in 2002 to 12.7 million in 2021. And Bangalore is seeing a 3 to 5% growth, and between 2002 to 2018 was consistently about 4.1 to 4.09%. So when you ask a question of a rapidly urbanizing city like that, where there is minimal space for people, where is the space for trees? One of the things that we need to look at closely is children, especially in cities, need places to experience greenery. A lot of children today may eat fruits and vegetables, but barely know where their origin comes from. They may never seen the mother plant or the mother tree, or identify trees where those edibles that they eat on a daily come from. In that background, how will children grow up tomorrow to have concern for the environment and nature around them? The map here shows how Bangalore has exploded in the past few centuries. In 1537, Bangalore was a small town, and you see that right at the center, a small red dot that the city was, a little town. And subsequently, through centuries, Bangalore has grown bigger and bigger. Like I said, between 1941 to 51, where it started really seeing the explosion of growth, and subsequently in 1971, as you can see on the slide, it became an urban agglomeration. 71 through 91 and subsequently 2001, Bangalore has seen a consistent urban spread geographically from all sides. And as you see today, the gray space on the map is the Bangalore metropolitan area. The roads and railways, as on this slide, have of course extended far beyond, and we know of many projects that are being envisaged, the SPRR, the PRR, all of which is expected to decongest the city as it grows denser and denser in population. This was Bengaluru in 1791, a very dry and barren space with absolutely minimal number of trees. And why is this important? Because this is what Bangalore was in the 1700s. And if one were to see how it got greened over the centuries, this is what it looked like in 1791. As you can see, many water bodies spread across the city, and the trees very sparsely populated around a few water bodies, around a few spaces of human habitat. In 1888, it looked like this. And in 2015, this is how the city looked. And I'm going to run you guys through this again, because this is important to see. 1791, 1888, and 2015. If we continue to remove our trees, we will be regressing backward in time. The next couple of slides focus on a study done by Professor Harini and some others. And the first one was taken up in studying about 152 roads with 2,400 avenue trees. Looking at these trees and the size of the roads and to make a comparison to see what were the nature and species and density as well as the species of trees that were populating the streets of Bangalore. And the realization and the outcome of the study was the Bangalore trees on the streets were very rich in species compared to many other cities across the world. What was also an outcome of the study was the diversity of the trees were extremely low, and also the size of the trees were very small in the narrow, congested, and populated roads. In comparison to the large roads that had the wider canopy trees which were older and also hence had a lot of different species. And this is important because most of the work in terms of road expansions and development that we're seeing today is happening on all the large wide roads, which means that the trees that we're actually felling for these projects are the large diverse species trees that it has grown over many years and have actually evolved with the city since the 1700s as the tree plantation happened. By removing these trees and the impact of these felling is now going to be felt by the city with this rapid deforestation, if we can call it so, right? Also, looking at another study of Professor Harini and others is a study on the effect of street trees on microclimate and air pollution in a tropical city like Bangalore, right? What they found was the SPM on streets with trees is almost 80% of the time below the permissible limit, whereas on streets without trees, the SPM was almost twice the permissible limit, and this was on more than 50% of the roads that were studied. Similarly, trees also reduce air temperature by 3 to 5%, and hence this was an outcome of the study of looking at roads with trees as well as roads without trees. Road surface temperature. The differences in the surface temperature of roads with trees and without trees was almost 15 to 25 degrees centigrade, depending on the time of the day. As you can see, it goes higher and higher during the middle of the day, making it fairly unbearable to stand on surfaces that have no tree cover. I will drop these links of the studies in the chat so that you may have a look at it as well, subsequently post this session. So what are we looking at today with loss of trees in the city? Trees that are lined with trees go far beyond just standing on the road. They provide very important ecological services. They are homes to many species of birds and small insects. They're also homes to many invisible little organisms that are actually living on it. They're also corridors to network the green patches across the city, right? Also, what we see is people tend to congregate in spaces that have trees, whether it's parks or markets that are, where hawkers or street sellers sit under these trees and sell their wares. So it provides a certain character to the city as well when there are trees that are lining its avenues and streets. And of course, many runners and folks who live an active life amongst you out there will know that a shaded lane to run is so much more pleasant compared to one that has absolutely no shade and no cover. So trees are woven very intricately with the character of the city and the lives of the people that live there on an everyday basis. If we continuously fell the trees and remove these streets and change their character, because of climate change and urban heat island that Professor Harini has spoken of very, very widely about urban heat islands, the lack of green cover creating this dense trapped spaces that become hotter and hotter as concrete spaces absorb the heat and retain them well within it. Bangalore will become extremely difficult to live in, and hence the shade, the ecological services, the microclimates that are provided by these trees are critical to make our cities more livable. And one of the things that we need to look at is to stop this rampant cutting of trees. And if we were to mimic and to shadow and to emulate some of the developed cities and have the services provided to the citizens in a similar manner, we must also look at ecology from the same lens that these cities looked at, whether it's New York or Singapore, cities that have managed to provide services to their citizens have also taken care of the ecology to ensure that citizens don't suffer in the process of being provided those services. So one of the suggestions that Professor Harini has is, why do we not look at some of these initiatives that were taken by cities such as New York to plant 1 million trees and to look at restoration projects, to look at what are the ways and means of saving the ecology that is possible. And with that, I will conclude that, Professor Harini's position on urban ecology and her message to both the citizens as well as the government and the authorities is to put urban ecology first and foremost. Thank you.
Thank you.
Over to you, Rajni.
Yeah. Thanks, Sandhya. I think I'm having a little glitch with my network. Just give me a second. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
I mean, yes, Rajni. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try my best to keep my video on also. I speak. Yeah, thank you. So that was from Dr. Harini, Sandhya on behalf of Dr. Harini. I'll move on to Mr. Raj Dugar and Sanjeev for doing a joint presentation, one after the other. For me, they're a team. I came in very late into this whole picture of looking at public transport and even being a climate activist. I'm just 2 years into this, I won't say profession, into this field. I've jumped in. And to introduce Rajkumar Dugar, he's an engineer himself by profession. He's completed his electronics and engineering from RVC. He's an IT hardware space person, works in IT solutions. Until 2019, he's also been the secretary of Association for Information Technology. So I would say he's seen Bangalore through the years of the IT revolution. And in 2014, he was active with his RWA. It's called the Vasant Nagar Residents Welfare Association. And he has designed and anchored very useful programs. In 2017, he took up the cantonment metro station matter, and I think, like most of us, started connecting to other people, groups, and individuals. He stepped in when BMRCL unilaterally decided to shift that location of the station from the approved approved site opposite the main entrance, and to a playground, which is about a kilometer away. And it led to multiple issues of common property and connectivity to the existing railway station. And 2019, he continued to work as by founding Citizens for Citizens, which is a platform for concerned citizens. His aim is to leave our surroundings, Bangalore, a little better than what he inherited, which is a very good goal to have in today's times. And we all will be here to support him. In the last 2 years, he's worked very closely with the city establishment, the authorities, like traffic police, railways, the metro, to try and see the solutions by which traffic can, the congestion can be reduced. Tree planting efforts in several locations, he's been active with that. The new Vishveshwaraya terminal, which is hailed as the best railway station of Bengaluru, not just Bengaluru, but India as well. So this is a long introduction, but very truly deserving. I also wish to introduce Mr. Sanjeev, but because I've spoken a lot, and I think I seem to have a problem with my throat. If you're okay, I'll come back to Mr. Sanjeev later. Raj, can you kindly take over?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Namaskara, and thanks to Team Growth Watch for this opportunity to speak on a very important subject. Well, Bengaluru is globally infamous for one of the biggest challenges faced by about 2 crore people living in and around the city, which is traffic congestion and all its consequences. The only practical solution is to have efficient, extensive, and effective public transport. That is BMTC buses, local railway services, BMRCL Slumma Metro, etc., along with tight integration between the various modes of public transport. Let us straight away look at the airport corridor. Why is it so important? Well, Bengaluru's airport near Devanahalli has become a massive hub for travel. It is developing into a destination by itself. Pre-COVID days saw daily average about 1.25 lakh footfalls at the airport. This is both flyers and non-flyers. Most of the people go by personal cars or cabs. A very small percentage uses buses. Now, these numbers, which have dropped down due to the pandemic, are on an upswing and are bound to increase back to pre-COVID days very, very soon. Apart from that, Terminal 2 at the airport is on the verge of becoming functional very soon. The capacity of the airport will double, and the estimate is about 2.5 lakh footfalls daily. Now, these people will commute from and to the airport from all over the city and the surrounding towns, adding significantly to the traffic within the city. Gone are the days when air travel was considered a luxury. Now we can see village folk, low and medium income group people traveling by flight. It is no longer a rich man's mode of travel. Also, Bengaluru's airport is one of the fastest growing airports in the world. Now the moot question is, can Bengaluru's roads handle this load? And what are the practical options available to solve this situation looming large on the horizon? Well, only good public transport to the airport and from all parts of the city and the surrounding towns can really and significantly reduce traffic congestion in the city. Right now, the commute is to the airport is 100% road centric. There is no other option. The only two other practical options are suburban trains to the airport terminal and metro to the airport terminal. Let us look at the option of suburban train system. Now, for over a decade now, probably more than a decade, there has been a public demand for suburban train system in Bengaluru. On 21st October 2020, just less than a year ago, the sanction letter was signed about 9 months before Metro to Airport was accorded final sanction. I want you to, all of you to understand this. The sanction for the suburban train project to the airport was given 9 months before Metro to Airport was sanctioned by the union government, which happened, the Metro sanction happened last month, if you remember. The BSRP, that is the Bangalore Suburban Rail Project sanction letter, specifies 4 corridors to be built. The total length of these 4 corridors works out to 148 kilometers, and the cost is sanctioned as rupees 15,767 crores. Now, this works out to an average of rupees 106 crores per kilometer, roughly about, yes, hold your breath, roughly about 1/5 the per kilometer cost of building Namma Metro, 1/5. The sanction letter makes an unusual specific mention of the timeline. It says the completion period of the project is 6 years. That means by October 2026, all 4 corridors should be commissioned. But it goes on to add, and this is special. However, Corridor 1, that is Bengaluru City to Devanahalli with airport link, has been planned for completion within 3 years after sanction. Now, for a sanction letter to specify this shows that some reasons and implications have been considered. Otherwise, you'll agree with me, there was no need for the sanction letter to specify this only for the airport corridor. Now, the airport corridor would start from KSR Bangalore City railway station and end at Devanahalli with a branch line going to airport terminal after passing through Malleshwaram, Yashwantpur, Latgolahalli, Kodigehalli, Yelahanka, etc. This route, very, very important, this route already has 2 stations with functioning metro stations nearby. Which are these 2 stations? KSR Bangalore City and Yashwantpura. So the entire functional metro network, presently functional metro network, would have access to the suburban trains on this corridor at these 2 stations. Now, the additional advantages of this route in helping with combating traffic congestion in the city is the fact that this route touches the only 2 functional railway terminals in the city, that is KSR City railway station and Yashwantpura, again the same 2 stations. They are the 2 railway terminals. The third one has come up at Sir M. Vishweshwara. It's not yet inaugurated. And the icing on the cake is that these 2 stations also have good BMTC bus terminus nearby. Now, all this clearly indicates the massive potential of this corridor in helping Bengaluru in many ways. Now, also the detailed project report, DPR, states that the land acquisition for Corridor 1, that is the airport corridor of the suburban trains, is the least compared to the other 3 corridors. Now, all of us know that land acquisition is a time-consuming process and can delay any project and result in cost escalation also. One thing I want all of you to understand is that disruption to regular road traffic is the least for railway corridors, because unlike for metro work, the roads are not dug up for railway work because their land requirements are away from the road network in most places. They have their own lands, the railways. The DPR also has data to show that the number of footfalls expected on this corridor is the highest compared to the other 3 corridors. So it makes a lot of sense to go first for the corridor which has the highest footfall, lowest land acquisition required, fastest and easiest to build and having maximum impact on the aim to reduce traffic congestion. No rocket science here. But a decision taken by the state government after the sanction letter was received here has resulted in delaying this low-hanging fruit for Nama Bengaluru. I firmly believe this is going to cost Bengaluru heavily, just like the decision of BMRCL to shift Cantonment Metro Station will. K-Ride, the company which is given the responsibility to build the suburban train system, has put up on their website that they will work on other two corridors on priority, not on the airport corridor. No specific reason has yet been given out for this change in stance, this step against the sanction letter, and this move against the interests of Bengaluru. Forget public consultation. There is no transparency in this decision. Sure, please go ahead and do whatever you want regarding the other corridors. But why is there a change in your approach to the airport corridor, which can really help Bengaluru very quickly, much quicker than any other option, including metro to airport? Now, by this decision, whoever is responsible for it has actually postponed the light at the end of the tunnel date for Bengaluru from 23-24 to 27-28, or maybe beyond that, thereby extending the torture that Bengaluru faces every day due to traffic congestion. Also, any layman will say that Nama Metro and suburban trains are not competing with each other, at least in the case of the airport corridor. In fact, they serve completely different parts of the city. Metro will cater mainly to the southern and eastern parts of the city, while suburban train corridor is along the western and central part of the city. In fact, they would complement each other in the airport corridor case. So why tie the hands of K-Ride so as not to help Bengaluru quicker than any other option? I conclude by stating that K-Ride, working in a manner as not to complete the airport corridor in 3 years and spreading the resources thin over various other corridors, is doing a disservice to Bengaluru. Already we have been handed over a fait accompli in the case of Cantonment Metro Station by BMRCL. We have to live with it, the lack of integration there. However, in this matter, it is still early days and K-Ride must be asked to reverse its wrong decision and proceed on a war footing to complete the airport corridor well before the deadline. My specific appeal in this matter is to all our public representatives, the MLAs and MPs of Bengaluru, our Honorable Chief Minister, our Chief Secretary, the Government of Karnataka, to review this decision which has been taken at the state level and take the right decision in the interests of the city and its people. Dhanyawad.
Thank you so much, Raj.
I
You
think
made our
Raj
task
wanted
very,
to-
very simple.
Yeah. Rajni, I think Raj had wanted to end with a particular slide, right, Raj? Did you forget?
Yeah, I forgot. Thank you so much. I will put up this slide. I want everyone to have a good look at this and see for yourselves. You can see the red line is the metro to airport. You can see the blue line, which is the suburban train to airport. Now, couple of quick pointers here. You can see the blue line passing, starting from KSR City railway station, where a metro station and a bus stand is, good bus stand is available. Going to Yashwantpura, where again a metro station and a bus stand is available, and proceeding to the airport. And if you look at the metro station, metro to airport, it is 58 kilometers. The suburban train corridor is 41 kilometers. Metro to airport may take, the sanction letter says, by the way, 5 years for metro to airport. I don't get into any discussion on that, but I want all of Bangalore to know that what has BMRCL given to us in the last 15 years. In 15 years, these are facts. In 15 years, Bangalore has 50 functional kilometers of Nama Metro, 50. So 58 kilometers by that logic will take, I don't know how many years. Let's assume they double their speed. They're going to take 10 years. So this is something which is reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raj. And very briefly introducing Sanjeev. Both Sanjeev and Raj have helped people like me who are very new to understanding the metro lines and the alignments and the problems. They've been very kind and cooperative, collaborative. So Sanjeev is one more person whom I reached out once I saw he'd written an article along with Raj and another person, Mr. Devre, who's in court on the Tree Act PIL in Citizen Matters. And I just picked up the phone, I got his number and I called him and we had a 1-hour discussion once he got free. So he's an engineer. Welcome to Sanjeev. I'll just hand over with a brief intro, soft-spoken engineer, passionate about understanding, the alignment, digging deep into the engineering of it, mechanical engineer by education. And he really likes to get his hands on the drawings, go on ground, look at what's happening. And he's always been helpful in understanding, helping us understand where the issues could be with respect to alignment. Because when you go to the authorities, when you go to BMRCL or BBMP, you need to tell them what you think is wrong. And how do citizens do that? It's only when we have the correct information. Sanjeev helped me get the DPR of the Reach 6 line, which is already underway. So like Raj said, why isn't the Metro BMRCL transparent? Why don't citizens have information? A public notice which comes up on the 28th of April in the middle of pandemic says 102.6 trees will be felled. Go to annexure this on our website, and you're supposed to do the research yourself. But here we have two citizens who've already been there for many, many years, close to 20 years, looking at the city, the changing landscape, the different ways of commuting, dived into the details, and they're filtering it out and giving us what we can understand. So welcome to Sanjeev. I hand it over.
Sanjeev, you just have to unmute yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You seem to have muted yourself again, Sanjeev. It's not us. You can speak now. You're unmuted. Sanjeev?
No, I'm.
He's unmuted, but I'm not able to hear
I
him.
think he's freezing. There seems
Hello?
to be some network issue.
Yeah, now it's fine. Yes, Sanjeev, we can hear you.
Am I audible?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We'll complain if we don't. So
Thanks.
just continue.
Yeah. Thanks, Vidya. Thanks, Rajni and Sandhya for this thing, organizing this. And Raj has already said, and Dr. Harini has given the perspective of the Bangalore, the new metro line to the airport. So, yeah, if you ask everyone who
Sanjeev, can we request you to maybe put off your video?
And much this thing connectivity from.
There's a delay.
Yeah.
Your voice is not very clear,
Yeah.
so just turning off the video might help it to be a bit smoother. We'll just try that out for a few.
I'll keep it close now. Yeah. Am I audible now? Better?
Yes. And
Yes.
we request other participants also to keep their videos off while you speak. Looks like your bandwidth has an issue. Thank you.
Yeah. If you look at it, the Bangalore International Airport, the new metro line connectivity. So there's a much demand is there to provide a better public transport from different parts of Bangalore to the airport, so that air passengers, airport workers can reach comfortably and with a better travel experience. So if you look back at our Bangalore public transport and the airport, we have a much better railway network across Bangalore, which connects from 5 to 6 districts in 5 directions. Like example, Tumkur, Mysore, Dodbalapur, then Hosur, Whitefield, Hassan. So all are there railway line going to all these places, including Chikbalapur on the airport line. And this airport generally was planned well before 2005 next to the Chikbalapur railway line, and further it was phase 1, phase 2 now, runway 1, runway 2, and terminal 1, terminal 2. It's a faster growing airport in India after Mumbai. So if the simple solutions that during construction of the airport itself, they could have just extended the existing Chikbalapur line to the airport terminal by providing electrical line and providing a
Sanjeev, we seem to be
minimum
losing
morning and evening services to the airport workers with a dedicated services and hello, yeah.
Yeah, we
me?
kept losing you in between. I just would like to one more person to confirm that. Can you hear Sanjeev clearly, Vidya?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Now it's better, Sanjeev. Let's try it again. Yeah. No, there's a lag, Sanjeev.
Some issue. Hello.
Yes, Sanjeev, is it possible that you go to another place where your signal is better, and until then we can listen to another speaker and then come back to you?
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Is it possible for you to fix this problem?
Yeah, he will do that, Rajni. I think we can go to Shaheen and then come back to Sanjeev, or Shaheen and Avni and then to Sanjeev. Sanjeev, you have about 20 minutes to find another
Go ahead
place.
with another speaker.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
I'll go to some.
Yes, thank you. Rajni, we'll have Shaheen now.
Yes, Vidya. Kindly take over, Vidya. Can you, because my network is also acting up.
So much for Silicon Cities networks. So we know what the reality is and how our cities are really, really impacted right now, not just by the pandemic, but by so many other things. Shaheen has been an activist for a very long time. Shaheen, when you come on, you should tell us more, because I think the premise of the Bengaluru Bus Prayanikara Sangasi, my tongue doesn't even, it's a Tuluva tongue, it doesn't even roll over Kannada words very well. So what we'll do is we'll ask Shaheen to tell us about this and tell us about this group, what you do as part of this group, what is the push, and what is your whole articulation for Bangalore and Bangaloreans' mobility. Mobility in a city or any town is so important. People move for jobs, people move for just getting to a friend, for recreation, to a hospital, on so many, there are so many reasons why people move from one part of the city to another. What is the whole Bus Prayanikara Sangha view? Stop smiling at my Kannada, Shaheen. Yes.
No, it's just the name. I mean, Bangalore Bus Prayanikara Vedike.
Vedike, of course. Here we have so many Vedikes. All the groups that we have spawned here in the coastal area are all Vedike. So I presumed that you would have a Sangha. Okay, go.
Yeah, hello, namaskara. I'm Shaheen and I'm part of this group called Bengaluru Bus Prayanikara Vedike. We started in 2013. But I mean, since we're talking about Bangalore and its ecology and its development and mobility, I also want to very briefly talk about Hasiru Usuru, which is another platform which probably started in 2005. I joined Hasiru Usuru in 2007, but the forum started many years back. I mean, at least a few years back, and this forum was included a lot of the senior activists and organizations from Bangalore and ordinary citizens who were concerned about how development was happening in Bangalore. At that time, today we're talking about metro, but when Hasiru Usuru started, tree cutting was because of
Sorry.
Yeah. Was because of road widening projects, which was like the fad of that time, 2005, 2007 timeframe. There were large number of road widening projects that were announced, and again, thousands of trees being cut for those projects. So if you actually look at this, so Hasiru Usuru was actually formed to look at these or even lake encroachments and other kind of ecology issues that were happening. And some of us who were young at that time and we new to the city and trying to understand the issues here, we realized that it is actually the mobility needs or the transport needs of the city that is at the back of a lot of these projects that are conceived, whether it was metro in 2007 or 2008 and road widening projects in the same period. Hundreds of roads were planned to be widened. The root cause of a lot of this was the traffic problem in Bangalore. So the question of, okay, I mean, if we are saying no to road widening, at that time, we also had a lot of protests around metro for multiple reasons. This was before the first phase of metro was launched. And there was also a court case, but that whole question of alternatives came up even at that point of time. And that led some of us to look at what are the alternatives. And I remember during the metro and road widening campaigns from Hasiru Usuru, one of our friends in the group had coined this term called Sai Bana. And he went around the city actually talking to a lot of groups about Sai Bana being the alternative. And what is Sai Bana? It is cycling, busing, and Nadiodu. That's how he sort of called it. And that was a very popular kind of a slogan at that point of time for all of us. And I'm talking about like I said, 2008, 2009 time frame, and we are 12, 13 years from then. The idea hasn't changed. I mean, the solutions are already known, and the problems have only grown. So it's in a way, it's a little disheartening for me that after 12 years we're again talking about, we're still almost at the same place, talking about the same problems, knowing the problems and knowing the solutions, still as a city unable to have made that 10 years is a long time, unable to have made that significant shift into a possible alternative. So that's one sort of background to Bangalore Bus Prayanikara Vedike. As is true to any sort of voluntary forum, it ebbs and wanes, and so Hasiru Usuru sort of started becoming inactive, and some of us who had become interested in mobility solutions needed a platform, and that was also the time when the BMTC bus fares were being increased after a steep hike happened, around 70% fare hike. So some of us came together and formed the Bengaluru Bus Prayanikara Vedike because we felt that bus is actually central to Bangalore's mobility solutions. It is the mode that a large number of people already use, and the immediate concern, and it is an alternative to the prominent paradigm that was on at that point of time. And by that time, by the time we formed Bus Prayanikara Vedike, it was not just metro and road widening, but also signal-free corridors and flyovers and elevated roads and all these ideas were, these were the trend. This was the trend which, unfortunately continues largely to be the trend. So these massive destructive projects as solution to Bangalore's traffic problems, and bus was a significant alternative, and there is no forum which could speak about this important mode of mobility for Bangalore, which at that time probably 45% of the city was using. That number has reduced over a period of time due to various reasons. So that's kind of how the Bangalore Bus Prayanikara Vedike was formed, both to sort of raise the concerns of commuters as well as to advocate for public mobility as a right, and bus as a one of the central ways in which Bangalore can reimagine its mobility paradigm. These are kind of the ideas with which Bangalore Bus Prayanikara Vedike was formed. So I'll just probably share about, maybe speak a little about why we think bus is central to the solution. I'll also touch upon a little about metro and what are the issues that we see with metro, and maybe conclude with a little bit of kind of connecting it to this whole paradigm question that is in front of us, and future of the city, and therefore what is a way to look at mobility going forward. If there is time, I'll also try to briefly touch upon the outer ring road corridor specifically, and some of the bus related initiatives that have happened there, and the potential of those possibilities as well. So when we talk about bus, I mean, like I said, 45% of Bangalore's trips were being made by the bus, and over the years this is reduced. I mean, these days, of course, I mean, pre-pandemic, we were looking at numbers like 37% of traffic, which is still like 35 to 40 lakh people travel by BMTC, used to travel by BMTC before the pandemic, and 6,500, 6,300 to 6,500 buses BMTC operates. And a comparison to this could be that we have 85 lakh private vehicles in the city, and growing every day, and BMTC transports 45 lakh people with just 6,000 buses. So that's like the massive scale of in a way efficiency that the bus brings in, that with just 6,000 vehicles you are able to meet 45 lakh people's needs. So that's what BMTC has been doing for the city for years. Now, and yeah, there's some other statistics also. I mean, it might be interesting to know that we have around 2,000 plus routes that BMTC runs, and 8,000 plus bus stops, around 69,000 daily trips BMTC was running. This is pre-pandemic numbers again. So that's the massive network and support or service that that BMTC provides the city. And what is the annual sort of rough? These are just rough numbers, just to give a sense of proportion. 2,000 crores roughly is the annual operating sort of expenditures of BMTC. This includes the staff cost, the fuel cost, and other maintenance and other operational expenses of BMTC. So 2,000 crores every year. And one more number useful to consider is an ordinary bus, diesel bus costs around 35 to 40 lakh. So currently we have around 6,000 odd buses. If we wanted to add, say, 3,000 more buses to Bangalore, it would cost us 1.2 crore. I think 12 crores. Just a second, I'll. Yeah, so that's just a compare it to the. I mean, we'll come to the metro costs later, but it just offers us a pegging point to look at how much does it cost. So adding more buses. If actually somebody can just, 1,200 crores. Yeah, I was just hoping somebody would. Yeah, so 1,200 crores is what it will cost us to buy 3,000 buses. That's like half of current capacity. Adding half more of the current capacity of BMTC, it costs us 1,200 crores. And the annual expenses with these additional, I mean, currently it is 2,000 crores. Let's say we are adding 3,000 more buses, it would probably cost us 1,000 more crores. I mean, again, rough approximations, but it would cost us 3,000 crores annually. This is what it, kind of takes to expand the bus network if we want to do that. And why do we have traffic problems in the city? I mean, I think this is something that all of us know, but I mean, the primary problem is the number of vehicles that we have on the roads, and therefore also the primary solution is to reduce our dependency on private vehicles. Like I said, 85 lakh and growing is the total vehicle population of Bangalore, and I think somebody was saying 1.3 crore or so is our people population, and the vehicle population is almost catching up. At any point of time, we don't have exact numbers because this kind of studies haven't been done, but probably 12 to 15 lakh vehicles are on the road at any point of time. And the road space, I mean, we know it's a very limited resource in a city. We cannot just keep on building more roads, because we have seen that over the years, as we build more roads, we are actually making it easier for private vehicles to come to the roads, and with the kind of loan and other kind of incentives that are there to buy vehicles and all of that, naturally people are people tend to buy more vehicles when you have wider roads and more roads, and that just clogs up the system again. And that's what we have done the last 20 years, and this is why it's a simple the nature of the problem is very simple and known. So that's really why we have this kind of a traffic problem. And what have we done? We have continued to try to build our way out of this problem, which again, in the transport or urban scenarios, this is a well-known fact that we cannot build our way out of congestion. So this again is almost like a maxim in this space, but we continue to try and build our way out of this. We have done this for the last 20 years. I mean, our situation has only become worse. Now, how do we reduce the dependency on private vehicles? Again, we know that we have to have a better public transport system, and also simultaneously find ways to disincentivize the use of private transport. How do we discourage people to use private transport? These two things have to happen hand in hand to really get people to shift to public transport. Now, public transport, I mean, it would have been good if Sanjeev had gone before me, then he would have also told us about suburban rail and the potential of suburban rail as one of the mass transport option. But as you all know, I mean, the suburban rail can't go cutting across a city. It's kind of like something that runs across as well as, along the existing lines. So while it can address the problems to a good extent along certain corridors, through most of the city, the main significant public transport option that we have is the bus. Like I said, just with 6,000 buses, we have been carrying, BMTC has been carrying 35 to 40 lakh people before the pandemic. What Bus Prayanikara Vedike has been advocating is to look at bus as the central mode of mobility for Bangalore and design the city around that. What does this mean? I mean, this means one, of course, that what are the problems that we see with bus? One problem is one big problem for a large part of the city is the affordability of BMTC itself. So when we compare it to metro, I mean, it becomes a bigger problem. Metro is actually even more expensive, but affordability itself is a big problem in Bangalore, because the earning levels of a large section of people are, I don't have the exact numbers with me, but we all know that, somewhere around, 6,000, 7,000 kind of salaries is what a lot of people in the lower economic sections on an average. So with these kind of incomes that the city is providing them, how are they going to be able to afford BMTC, which has a monthly pass of 1,050 rupees? So that's again just a comparison that if not everybody buys the monthly pass, but still, if you use that as a benchmark, 1,050 rupees out of your 6,000, 7,000 monthly wages, or even let's say 9,000, that's a big part of your income which has to go into your mobility needs for a single person. this again, of course, family and all of that, it compounds. It doesn't just end with that. So affordability has always been a big concern for a lot of people. Although today's discussion is mostly focusing on congestion, which is a slightly different kind of a problem.
I just like to step in, Shaheen. I think today's discussion is what you would like to highlight as a person who's been with BPPV and various things, right? It's what you would like to tell the citizens and growth. So please take your time. That I think we have only 2 minutes for you, but you can speak about what you think we as citizens should be looking at. You're making our antenna go up, you're opening our eyes, so feel free. I mean, there's nothing.
Sure. So affordability, mobility actually is not just about congestion, it is actually about people's ability to move in the city. So which is also where BBPV looks at it as a right, and to provide this right to everyone in the city, affordability is one of the prime concerns that we look at from a mobility point of view. So reducing the fares has been an important concern and remains an important concern. It will only become even more important because of the pandemic situation and the kind of loss of income and livelihoods that we're seeing across the board. So that's a big concern. The other issue with the bus services is, of course, the issue of reliability of services, the connectivity that it provides, the travel time that is there. Here again, there are many issues with the bus. So it's not that BMTC is currently offering a perfect service. There are many issues, but these are again not difficult to solve. These are during the peak time, if you look at it, a lot of the routes are overcrowded. People travel in very unsafe conditions because of the overcrowding. There are also long waiting times in many routes because there are not enough buses. So a lot of the problems with the unreliability of, one set of problems is not enough buses. We need a lot more buses. So one of the things that we keep demanding is that, we need to buy more buses for the city. But just buying more buses is not sufficient, because the other big problem that the buses face is that there are 12 to 15 lakh other vehicles and there are just 6,000 buses. And imagine these buses having to navigate through this massive traffic log during those, especially the peak hours. So how does one solve this issue? Again, it's a question of equity again, when if you look at the road being a resource and, how is it being distributed across various users? If the car carries probably 5% of Bangalore's traffic. But if you look at the amount of space that the car uses, it's much more. Or even private vehicles. Like 6,000 buses hardly take any space on the road, during those peak hours. There are some statistics. Again, I don't have it on the tip of my fingers right now. But this unequal and significantly disproportionately unequal share of road space that buses get is the other big problem, and the reason why buses are not able to provide reliable service or provide enough adequate frequency, etc. Because by this there's some published schedules, but the bus is not able to meet those schedules because of the traffic congestion, and it's not able to move fast because it's navigating through this. So again, in reference to the Outer Ring Road, there was in 2019 there was a very interesting project that finally happened. The bus priority lanes on Outer Ring Road for a stretch of 20 kilometers. What did they do? They just demarcated one lane on Outer Ring Road on both sides of the road exclusively for buses. It was operational only for a very short time. I think November, December is when it was launched, probably more like I think January. And then we went into the pandemic pretty soon after. So we don't really have a lot of data to offer. But even in that short period of time, what we saw was that there was a 22% reduction in travel time and a 10% increase in ridership. That's just a 20 kilometer stretch on Outer Ring Road. And what did it cost? It cost us just 1 crore per kilometer to put this in place, the priority lane, whereas the metro costs us around 350 crores per kilometer. So 1 crore and 340 crore per kilometer is just the financial comparison of what it takes to dedicate a space for buses on the road versus creating dedicated high speed rail line through these areas. So I think, I mean, since the time is an issue, maybe I can discuss more during the Q&A, but basically the point is that the problems with the buses have solutions and they cost much, much less, whether it is financially or ecologically or in any other way that we look at it, or whether the aesthetics of the city or our living experiences, they cost much less, they're much more flexible, easy to deploy, easy to change when our traffic patterns change. Once you build a metro, you can't just, realign it to some other place later. So, and just one more point I want to mention is also that, particularly for this IT kind of a corridor, we are looking at the pandemic has opened a new possibility, a paradigm of a lot of people working from home. I mean, people living along this stretch probably, don't recognize the Outer Ring Road these days. I mean, because it looks so different from how it used to be. So this is again an opportunity that we can look at. And I think probably what Raj was kind of mentioning and what Sanjeev will hopefully also talk about, can we explore all other options before we, spend massive amount of money, which probably we need for health and education as we are seeing during this time, on these kind of massive immovable projects, which cost us financially and ecologically. I mean, 5,000 trees is not a joke. So really, want to do this now. I mean, can we explore cheaper, easier, simpler options, which will give us results in a very short period of time? And if none of that works and, we really can't find a way around it, then let's think about metro. And also just to draw on what Raj said, in 15 years, we saw what metro has been able to do. Just 4.5 lakh people travel by metro, and we have spent 15,000 crores building that metro. And Delhi, with 380 kilometers of metro network, still carries only 6% of the of Delhi population. 6% of Delhi people travel by the metro. So, and that is 70,000 crores that Delhi has spent. So, do we want to go through all this 20 years that it took them to build that? And, what will be left for us to, save after that? What will be left for us to live in or live for in the city once we do this kind of a massive destruction? I mean, is it really worth it? So that's where I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaheen. Before I hand it over to Avni, I would quickly like to tell you why we stepped in and this panel was put together, because even in our minds and the minds of citizens living along the line and other places in Bengaluru, the first thing that comes to our mind is, why should the trees go? But then that's one of the questions should have been asked in the beginning. Because we are kind of late in the picture now asking for a question, because the alignment is planned and these trees have to go. But the government authorities are now asking the citizens, do you have an opinion on this? So when we try to meaningfully look at that question, one of the things we realized is that the data on the DPR, the EIA, the trees to be gone, these are not available readily and easily. So we started exploring, even before that, while we were looking at Vidya along with a couple of other researchers, was looking at REACH 6. Like Raj highlighted, the cantonment stations problem, which was a last minute change, led to a lot of issues, both in terms of loss of commons, like the playground which went, and even loss of a space like the Technical Training Center for Deaf, which is the only institute in Karnataka where students across India would come to do their ITI course, a 2-year diploma course. They lost their college, the staff lost their jobs, and there was huge impact. And one of the things that the EIA, the Environmental Impact Assessment document, clearly states is that affected communities will be rehabilitated before the project begins. And I can tell you, because we were not just researching, we were working with the community on ground. Our volunteers, our interns, students who wanted to help the community, we met the students, and for a couple of months, we've been working with them. The students don't have a college, they don't have a building, they were suddenly displaced overnight, and 2 years later, including the time of the pandemic, they didn't receive instructions regular class instructions for their course. And let's remember that most of them come from disadvantaged communities as well. So they're not privileged like the city people. Their parents are in rural areas. They've been sent to Bangalore and they've been affected. And like this, we've come across so many individuals, families, shopkeepers who have been affected, and we're engaging with them. We did COVID relief work with them. We tried our best to help them, but there's only this much that citizens groups or citizens can do once the damage is done. It's only when we plan properly and the plan is transparent and it's done from the beginning well, as documented in these elaborate documents that are there in the public domain, and we hold the establishment to account on what they're saying in these documents, because these documents are given to the funders, the banks, and the entire funding is dependent on what they say here. And our goal has been in, look at it, look at what's happening on ground and take it back to the funders and knock on their doors and say all is not well. And we've been sending emails and letters to the BMRCL as well, talking to the funders, and we continue to do the same. When we were hit with a rude shock on April 28th, we get to know that there's only 10 days in the middle of the second wave lockdown. And since then, Sandhya and I, who live in Bangalore and we're close to the ORR, we tried our best in that limited capacity to go and look at the trees. And we said it's impossible for a line which is this long and this complicated. We cannot be expected to give meaningful objections. Note that the statement put out by BBMP requesting citizens for objections says you must give meaningful objections to the tree felling public order. So how do citizens engage meaningfully if data is not available, if it's not meaningful for us to engage with them? Then we would either give up, or we don't know what to do, or we just go with the flow. Like Shaheen says, every few years we have something thrown at us, and always the take has been widen the road, cut the trees, do this, do that. So like all of us would like you, just like we did it, we want you to also think, go through the documents, write to the BBMP, DCF, like they've asked us to do. And ADB is the funder, one of the funders on this new line, the airport line, and we've written to them. Vidya, if you do have the email, can I request you to share? And we're glad to say that we've been listened to. So all that we've said, we've escalated to them, saying because we didn't hear back from BMRCL, from the BBMP DCF. So we had to escalate because the time was running short. Meanwhile, we even went in person. We spoke to the DCF, the CCF, the conservator, chief conservator of forest, Bangalore Urban. And we said, we need time to even respond to this. We did get some relief for one line, which is the 2B yesterday. So they've given us 10 more days starting yesterday. We hope by Monday, the other two lines, also the BBMP forest will communicate with citizens and give us either an extension or a fresh order, giving us more time. And this is how we've been engaging. We welcome you all after this panel, ask questions to the panel, the experts on this panel, and also go back and do more. I'll just put in a Google Doc link. If you would like to leave your details, we'll also get in touch with you. Over to you, Avni.
Yes, Avni
Sanjeev,
Choksi.
we'll come back to you after Avni. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Avni Choksi is an advocate, and she may seem little, but she packs a very big punch. She is someone who has been speaking up, not just for Bangalore and what the metro has done to workers who are working on the metro. So she will expose for us the dark underbelly of the metro, the shiny, bright new thing that everybody thinks has really changed the landscape and made it so much better and easier to travel. Who are the workers who prop up this image and what does their life look like? Remember what Rajni said just now, that there are big international financial institutions that are putting in big money, as Shaheen and Raj also told us, into the metro. So the line which is presently being done, which is REIT 6, the proposed lines which are just, starting off, which is the lines to the airport. All of them are either funded by the Asian Development Bank, by the Japanese IFI, JICA, or by the European Investment Bank or the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Big pockets, deep pockets funding the metro. But does that mean that core labor standards are kept to by the Bangalore Metro? BMRCL, has it been keeping to core international labor organization standards? You know best, because you have been following the workers, working with them, and also speaking up for them in the Labor Commissioner's office.
Thank you, Vidya. We have seen a number of perspectives today. We have seen the metro, this massive project. We have seen it from the perspective of ecology. We have seen it from the perspective of transportation needs. We have seen it from the perspective of loss of commons. But what I'm trying to do today is to bring in the perspective of the 10,000 odd workers who have built this project in the city here before you. So as I said, there are 10,000 odd workers, but predominantly these are all migrant workers. This is no coincidence. It's not by chance that these are all migrant workers. This is a definitive and specific choice to employ migrant workers. And why is this choice taken by the government? To go back, I want to reiterate that BMRCL is a government agency. It's a government establishment, and it is a branch of the government. Now, it is taking this decision to employ 10,000 migrant workers to build its metro, this prestigious project in the city. The reason for this is simple. One, it's a specific and clear structural mechanism to promote disorganization of workers. If you have migrant workers, they are in a different place. They are in a place where they do not know the local structures, the local language, and the local people, and they are unable to effectively organize themselves. This is not a mere case of unorganized labor, but this is a disorganization of labor. You have a situation where you have thousands of migrant workers coming in, unable to raise their voice against their almost what we would call semi-bonded situation. The fact of the matter is these migrant workers are totally outsourced. There's no direct employment relationship with BMRCL. How it works is that BMRCL gives tenders and gives contracts to a number of contractors. These contractors then hire further intermediaries who then hire thekedars. Thekedars are the low-level contractors who, on some levels, they hire 5 or 10 workers. On some levels, they hire hundreds of workers. But what you see is you have a very layered structure of employment. There's no direct employment between BMRCL and its workers, or the workers who are doing the core function of BMRCL, but you have a minimum of 2, but often as many as 4 intermediaries. So what you can see is at the same time, these workers who are interstate migrant workers are denied the benefit of the Interstate Migrant Worker Act by the BMRCL by saying that these workers have not been brought to the state for the purpose of labor by the BMRCL due to this intermediary system. So you have the use of technicalities to deny the benefits of law to these workers. And what happens is when you have these 3 or 4 layers of intermediaries, the payment also goes through these 3 or 4 layers. So you do have a Minimum Wages Act in the city, in the state, and you do have a certain notified minimum wage, which all workers are entitled to. What you see, however, is these workers are not receiving their entitled minimum wage. This happens on a number of levels. First, you have these various intermediaries who are taking their cut at each level. Second, what the Minimum Wages Act says is that if you work for 8 hours, then you get the minimum wage. If you work for even 1 hour more than the 8 hours, then you're supposed to get double payment for all the overtime work you do. but none of the workers are paid overtime despite working more than 17, often 17 hours a day. There's no transparency at all on what the deductions are, since the workers don't get wage slips. And in fact, even the legally mandated paid day of rest is not provided to them. If they take Sunday off, then there's a deduction. Some of the thekedas do provide a half a day off on Sunday, but often there's deduction and the workers don't know what the deductions are. That's one angle I wanted to bring in. But the second angle I wanted to bring in is that you have pathetic, inhumane living conditions. At this stage, I just want to take you through some photos which our team took recently in the last year in some of the labor camps. I'm just going to share my screen now. I hope you don't mind.
Not at all. We would like you to show us the reality of the shiny metro.
Since you talk about the reality of the shiny metro, I am going to show you this first. This is a meeting. This is from the annual report. This is the very shiny facade of the metro, where you have a number of ministers in a very posh room, air-conditioned room, receiving bouquets, clapping their hands at each other and praising each other and congratulating each other for creating this metro. And on the other hand, here, these are the residences of the workers. You have two types of categories generally of these residences. This is one of the types. This is their own kitchen, their own food. They have to buy their own food from their less than minimum wages. And these are the small rooms. It's totally made of this tin. It's supremely hot, often doesn't have fans or dysfunctional fans. And these tiny rooms, you have between 7 or 8 workers, usually around, sometimes up to 10, sometimes as low as 5, but usually 7 or 8 workers in one such room. This is one of the models. The second model is to have these kind of bunk beds. This bunk bed system is there. So you have 50 workers in a large room and they have no space. If you look to the left, you look to the right, you are surrounded by other workers. In fact, there's a day shift and a night shift. So one bunk bed has 2 people. One person is out. When one person is out, the other sleeps there. And when that person comes in, this person leaves. It's the conditions are bad. I just wanted to show this to you, just to make this human. These are the toilets. This is most of the toilets are dysfunctional. There's no water. And in fact, if you see the bathroom, there's no bathroom. There's a pool from which they have to bathe. This is the pool. This is the water inside the pool.
Avni, sorry to interrupt. Where exactly is this?
These are the various labor camps. I'll just send you. This one is near Kengeri.
Okay.
I was there on this visit, but the previous bunk bed one, I'll just send you the report. These photos are all part of a report we submitted to the monitoring committee. I can share that report. And
yes,
what happens?
Share it in the chat later.
Definitely. And what happens is you have a entirely enclosed structure. So this is how the entire compound is fully enclosed. No outsider can go in, no insider can go out, and you are guarded by security guards. It is really a system of semi-bonded or almost bonded labor. Okay, now going back, I'll just exit my screen share. Stop share. Yeah. So, of course, at one level, you do have these working living conditions. Apart from these living conditions, you also have a blatant violation of laws, all laws. First is at the very basic level, there's a mandate to exhibit the provisions of laws in the vernacular language for the workers. This allows them to know what their entitlements are. For example, the minimum wage must be displayed openly on a display board in the residential and working areas. However, this is not complied with. Secondly, there's an absolute lack of documentation for these workers, which becomes a massive issue. For example, under the Building and Other Construction Workers Act, there's a mandate to provide identity cards, and the registration under this act leads to a number of consequential benefits for the workers. Moreover, you have the Interstate Migrant Worker Act, under which a passbook is mandated to be provided by the contractor, also under the Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Act, you are mandated to provide an employment card to each of these workers. However, none of the workers have any identification whatsoever that they are workers, even under BMRCL, except for a gate pass. Apart from this gate pass, there's absolutely no documentation with them, which is a violation of the law. Now, just to give you a bit of context, in 2012, a PIL was filed before the High Court in respect of the rights of metro workers, So this PIL raised a number of issues in respect of the metro workers, and there was a final disposal in 2014, whereby the judgment of the High Court held that a monitoring committee was to be constituted. This monitoring committee was firstly to consider the various grievances of the workers. The committee was to go conduct inspections, take grievances, and redress these grievances. Secondly, the committee was to ensure that the workers were registered under the Building and Other Construction Workers Act. Thirdly, the committee was also mandated to ensure that the payment went directly from the employer to the worker. And lastly, the payment had to be in the presence of a labor official and BMRCL official. However, what happened is this was never complied with. There were a few meetings held and then it fell dormant. Later in 2020, what happened is we raised this matter before the Honorable High Court. When we raised this matter, raising the issues of the migrant workers who were actually in a very terrible situation due to this was at the time of the first wave of COVID. So at this time, half of the workers had been abandoned by their local thekedars. They did not have food to eat, they did not have money. They had all their non-existent savings were over, their loans were as high as they could go. And they were in a very bad situation. So at this stage, what happened is we again approached the High Court, and the High Court ordered that the monitoring committee meet every month. And the monitoring committee was thereby reactivated. Now, we have been attending those monitoring committee meetings, which lasted perhaps till February of this year, but thereafter no monitoring committee meetings were held. Moreover, even the personnel has retired. The deputy CLC has retired, and thereafter there has been no meeting whatsoever of this committee. And just to bring you some kind of idea of what the efficacy of this committee is, I want to say that there is I think Rajni was speaking about REACH 6 in terms of the various impact of REACH 6. But if you look at who is doing REACH 6 is being constructed by a contractor called Simplex. Now, Simplex, what it did was it denied payment of wages of 3 months' wages to 520 workers. Those wages have till today not been paid. We have repeatedly raised this issue. As many as 5 or 6 representations. The workers themselves conducted protests. Then there were police involved. But till date, unfortunately, neither the committee nor the BMRCL have taken any interest whatsoever in ensuring the payment of this wage. This is an instance of literal wage theft. The workers have done certain work. They have given 3 months of their lives work for this prestigious and shiny project, and they have not been paid. The government has stolen their work. This is slavery. Now, going over there, once I said that, then I also want to bring to your attention that there's a idea of dignity. Of course, as a lawyer, I would be remiss if I did not bring in Article 21 of the Constitution, which protects the right to life and has been interpreted to protect the right to life with dignity. But right to life with dignity is not just some words in a judgment far away. It's an enforceable, justiciable right. This is an entitlement of the workers, which has been violated by the government. This is the context in which we must see this. We must also see this violation of dignity in the specific context of the state violating the rights. Now, the state is intended to be a model employer because the state is the government. The government is intended to act as a model to all private employers. The government is in fact supposed to ensure that private employers comply with the law. But when it itself knowing very well of its violations, continues to intentionally conduct such violations of law, then that itself must be seen as an affront to the dignity of workers. This must also be seen as a very specific instance of undervaluation of service and of the labor of all these workers. These workers are the people without whose hands and without whose work this metro would not be construction. Those people in their shiny offices, air-conditioned offices, who take the credit, they have not made the metro. The metro has been made by these workers. But there's a massive undervaluation of who these workers are and their entitlements, not only in law, but in equity and in justice. I just want to end by reading through a short paragraph of a judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court in 1989. This was in the context of contract labor. Of course, the workers have always sought that contractualization of workers must be stopped. Unions have sought this continuously, but we continue to see that contractualization of labor, both in the private realm as well as in the public realm, is increasing day by day. So I just want to read this paragraph where the Honorable Supreme Court is saying that it is surprising that more than 40 years after independence, the practice of employing labor through contractors by big companies, including public sector companies, is still being accepted as a normal feature of labor employment. There is no security of service to the workmen, and their wages are far below that of the regular workmen of the company. This court, in previous cases, has disapproved the system of contract labor, holding it to be archaic, primitive, and of baneful nature. The system, which is nothing but an improved version of bonded labor, is sought to be abolished by the Act. They're speaking of the Contract Labor Act. So when in 1989, the Honorable Supreme Court is saying that the contract labor system is nothing but bonded labor, then 40 years thereafter, it is shocking and it is most horrifying that our state is promoting this contractualization of labor. With that, I want to end, and I hope that all of you can keep in mind this workers' perspective, apart, of course, from the very important ecological perspective and transport perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Agni. And this is exactly the reason we wanted all of you panelists, because the various perspectives you bring in with your work is very important for all of us to know. The human aspect, the environment story, the alternatives, these are things that we need to be hearing from all of you and empowered with more knowledge and data on this. With this, I hand over to Sanjeev, who had a technical glitch earlier with his internet. Sanjeev will bring to us his perspective on the alternatives, which is the suburban rail. He's a citizen expert on the alignment, the DPR and the EIA. Sanjeev, are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not switching on my video so that I can better audible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eega, you are very audible.
So,
just try with your video once, Sanjeev, please. Nodwa. Okay, you have Bangalore skyline
so
behind you. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, if you look at the Bangalore topography and Bangalore city, this thing, from last decade or this thing. Oh, so we had the airport was coming up in the Devanahalli since 2005. They sanctioned, and 2008 was commissioned, and subsequently it has been expanded with the second this thing. I'll switch off the video, and so I can talk comfortably. Just switch off the video. So if you see that 2005, the airport was planned at Devanahalli, and with a massive numbers in the this thing, from 10 million to now 40 million, 50 million. So, and the Bangalore had an advantage of railway infrastructure in the 6 to 7 directions. We had railway tracks like connecting Tumkur, Dodballapur, Ramnagara, Mysore, then Hosur, Whitefield, then Chikbalapur. If you look at all this, and the airport was just planned next to the Chikbalapur railway line. So if you had a little bit of better planning during 2005 itself, considering the massive transportation requirement to the airport, both for the airport workers as well as for the air passengers, they should have planned better, extending the railway line from the existing this one with a little bit of infrastructure and little bit of cost. Maybe at that time in 2005, 2010, it would have costed something around 50 crore. That's all. So, and while constructing itself, the airport, they could have built a proper railway station. I'll just bring a corollary. If you look at European countries' airports, every airport has a railway terminal just below the airport terminal. So during construction of the airport itself, they have planned such that mass public transport is provided from the airport to other parts of the city. So if you look at that, this thing in Bangalore, it's completely lacking. Even like as Rajkumar Dugar told, and I am fighting for the last 10 years for suburban rail, including Bus Prayanikar Vedika also, they also supported so many other this, CFB and other Praja and other things. So if you see that there is a lack of interest within the government to push for suburban rail, which is the most affordable and most easily it can be built. So after so much this thing, finally they sanctioned in 2020 October. But look at if you look at other cities in India itself, maybe better political system prevails or better administrative system prevails. Look at Hyderabad, like Lucknow, Chennai, Delhi has a metro connectivity to the airport long back. Okay. Now Mumbai is already having a work is going on for this thing. In Bangalore, the suburban rail, which line runs next to the airport, should have been taken in 2005 and should have been made it operational with a much better facility, connecting from all parts of the city. So in the process, what would have happened today? What we are discussing, a topic is new metro line to the airport, starting from KR-Puram, Silk Board, then Hebbal, and then almost 60 kilometers with a present estimation of 15,000 crore, which may spill over to 30,000 crore, and it may take under 10 years to do it. So look at, we have a ready infrastructure available, just little bit of augmentation, and this thing from 2005 we want to go up to 2030 without any mass public transport, and that too even the what you call the buses, the Vajra buses, the only air conditioned buses are available to airport. There is no ordinary buses even available to the airport workers. So literally they pay almost 5,000 to 6,000 rupees monthly the bus passes. So even they are not willing to give ordinary buses from Yelahanka or Devanahalli or from even Whitefield. So much this thing. So everything has its own background. So the unfortunately the administration and the politicians, they work with a lot of their vested interest than the our society interest. So if you see that all that, and Bangalore being the IT hub and a technological hub, and we want to connect every parts of the world by our Bangalore airport, but we don't want to even learn simple thing from the other airports in the other parts of the country. Like every major airport in the other parts of the country while building itself, they build a mass public transport, both suburban rail as well as metro. It is not that only one, okay, including a bus. So from that perspective, Bangalore still, we want to only a allied thing like a metro want to push it, and suburban rail, which is approved, which should have been execution should have been started specifically like airport line starting from Bangalore city, Yeshwanthpur, Yelahanka, Devanahalli. They could easily do it from Yeshwanthpur to airport. Then other parts they can easily pull it. And look at it today. The Devanahalli is connected from other parts, like example from Chikbalapur. Also, people come for work. There are a lot of daily workers, construction workers, gardeners, housekeeping, security. So many people. Same thing. The people come from Doddaballapur. The people go from Bangalore city, from Yelahanka. So from every direction, you have a railway line going to the airport. So if you connect proper services morning and afternoon and evening and late night, a lot of daily wage workers, the regular workers in the airport, and even air passengers will be able to make use of these services. And even if a metro is going to come with all this ifs and nots and all this thing, it's not going to be there in the next 10 years, because for 60 kilometers they need almost 30,000 crore, but the what estimation they taken is 15,000, which is under estimated, and government has no money to even fund it, and already the losses there. So it's going to be more critical in coming days for the metro to run. So from all this perspective, what we were talking only Bangalore, this thing, the suburban rail connected to the airport. If you just little bit open our eyes and see further, the Mysore trains can come to the Devanahalli, Tumkur trains can come to Devanahalli, Hassan, this thing, Kunigal, same thing from Hosur, from Whitefield, Chikbalapur, all these places, the people, even they can, like vehicles, they can travel and like they can stay somewhere nearby and do work, and even the air passenger can come. So why do you want to build a expensive and more expensive to sustain the metro? Yeah, if you can afford it, yes, it's well and good, you can build it, but we can't afford it in this process. So if you can, the government need to wake up. Still, it is in the metro hangover, and I don't know when. It's only time will tell, because funds is going to be current. Like you can see now, they want even for salaries. They are running around. So it's becoming one more corporation like a BMTC, where salaries will get delayed. People will get frustrated. Already we have seen the contract workers, like as mentioned, the salaries have not been paid. Same thing will happen for the regular employees of the metro also, because the model what they built, approved and built is before COVID conditions. Now with the COVID conditions, the earnings are going to be drastically reduced, and this all metro is exclusive infrastructure only for the metro. It doesn't share. Like example, Indian Railway has a both infrastructure, like both it can share like both the goods traffic as well as passenger traffic. So if you look at it in the last one and a half years also, Indian Railway is not struggling in terms of income, because it is in fact performing better, because it is able to transfer more goods traffic. So from all this perspective, if you see, considering the cost overrun and time overrun, and where you start.
Sanjeev, we suddenly can't hear you, Sanjeev. Vidya, can you confirm that?
No, we can't hear him. Maybe we should open it up to questions now. I think Sanjeev has made the most important points he had to make.
Yes. Yeah, so I hope we can get Sanjeev in another session when he has better connectivity for people who want to understand the technicality of the suburban rail, the metro corridor, the overlaps. Please do leave your contact details, and we will loop you in with all the documents.
Can you hear me? I just came back from
Yes,
network.
yes. Now I can hear you. Yes, Sanjeev.
Yeah. So what happens even if you want to have a metro also with all the funfair and other things, so it's not going to be there before 2030. So if you look at it from 2005 and 2030, we are going to suffer, and till we will be suffering this thing. At the same time, the suburban rail, which is already been approved and which has got priority has been fixed by central government to do it this one first. So it can be easily done, but I don't know why the political will also is not there, the bureaucratic will also is not there, and the allied citizens of Bangalore also wants a metro than this thing, suburban rail. From that perspective, we as citizens should see that the suburban rail corridor works picks up, and all the hurdles, whatever they are trying to put it, should be removed, and ensure that in the next 3 to 4 years we get a better suburban rail from the city center to the airport, and instead of going for the expensive metro, maybe if government can afford it, it can do it. Otherwise, they'll do the metro, or they will allow suburban rail to come. So in the process, in the coming days also, we are going to suffer further if the government is going to take this type of approach and stand. So we need to be very cautious, and we need to be built used by all section of society in this thing. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there any concluding thoughts? Because it's been more than an hour since we heard. Raj, do you want to add something that you think on the alignment and the suburban rail, Raj?
Sure. I want to, first of all, the presentations have been excellent. I mean, at least for me, it's an eye opener to see those workers. I never thought behind the scenes, this is what is happening. I want to tell one thing about the cost. We keep saying, just like Sanjeev said just now, whether the government can afford it. Let us, each one of us, understand this very clearly. Every rupee that is spent by whether it is BMRCL or any other agency, ultimately is going to be paid by you and me only, nobody else. Nobody else is going to pay this money, including the interest on the loans that they take. It is not going to be paid by anybody except you and me. So we need to understand that first. If somebody is giving a loan of thousands of crores, it doesn't mean anything. Finally, we have to pay it. I wanted to say
Yes,
that.
I think that's a very important point. Yeah. And like Avni said, I would like to highlight that the state has to be a model employer. It has to be a model environment protector, a model spender of money of the citizens, right? And and that's why as citizens, we need to ask the right questions of this project and also every other project. Is it worth it? The human cost, the environmental cost, the impact on workers, is it worth it? And it may be too late, but I don't personally believe anything is too late, because this pandemic has shown us that everything can wait. We just sat at home for months. I mean, what else do we need? But then, like Vidya highlighted in the beginning, it also showed us that in the time of the pandemic, we saw projects being approved left, right, center, like nobody's business. And these are not projects that are being implemented, on money being given to our governments free of cost. These are loans. They're called funds. They're called, they use different words to confuse us. But basically, they're loans which are going to be repaid by the citizens of today and the future. And maybe it's the question to ask why India is still, indebted at large to these large banks. The name of the banks can change: World Bank, ADB, EIAB. They can look more local by calling it Asian Infrastructure Bank and Asian Development Bank, but it remains the same. So I would love to open the floor for questions, and I see Yogita has already raised her hand. Yes, we do have Nayan from Jatka, and I will summarize what happened with the online petition after Yogita goes. I invite you all to please put your name in the chat or your question, and then you can unmute and ask the question. Thank you all. It's been wonderful listening to the panelists. I would like to thank them and request them to stay until the questions come in. Thank you.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, Yogita.
Yeah, first of all, thank you everyone to show all the amazing work that you've done on this. And it takes so much time actually to sit and do any kind of research and get any kind of data out from the government. So first of all, kudos to everybody's efforts on that. And I'm so thankful as a citizen to all of you for that. My question is regarding, it might sound silly, but I've been thinking about this a little, like since we already have some infrastructure of the 50 kilometers of metro, plus they've constructed quite some amount in the last 6 years of the following phases. So what, in your opinion, anyone can answer this, what is the way forward with the infrastructure which has already come up? Like, this is hard concrete, and where will that go? What they would see is that, okay, this has come up in some part of the city. Now the next thing to do is to scale it up across the city and form a network. So what are we proposing? To stop with what they've done and run trains on this network and probably integrate it with other modes of transport like suburban rail or buses and all other first and last mile connectivity options. So what should be done with the infrastructure that's already put up. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Yogada. I also will read out one more question, and we can club a few questions so that we can try and get all the panel members to answer it either individually or collectively. So Mr. Kamal asks, is there any projections for Bangalore by 2030 or 2050? Any plan out? I think he meant with respect to traffic. Am I right, Mr. Kamal? Any plan out, say, projections for Bangalore by 2030 is what he says. Mr. Manohar, you can unmute and please ask your question. And then I would like the panelists to answer both Yogada and Manohar's question.
Manohar ji, unmute ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ.
ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೆ ಮಾಡಿದೀನಾ?
ಹಾ.
ಮೇಡಮ್, ಇವತ್ತು ಸೆಷನ್ ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಮೇಡಮ್. ನೀವು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಚಿಂತನೆಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು FKCC ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಸಬ್ಮಿಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಅರ್ಬನ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅರ್ಬನ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ಗೆ, ಅರ್ಬನ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರೀಸ್, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಮಾನಿಟರಿಂಗ್ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಕ್ಲಿಪ್ಪಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅದು ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಫೋರಮ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕ್ಯಾಬಿನೆಟ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದಾಗ ನಾವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಭಾವನೆಗಳು, ಈ ಕಮಿಟಿ ಏನೇನ್ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಬಹಳ ವಿಷಯದ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಕೂಡ. ಅರ್ಬನ್ ಪೂರ್ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಮೆಟ್ರೋ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟೇಷನ್, ರೈಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ರೋಡ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್, ಏರ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್, ಹಲವಾರು ವಿಷಯಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರ. ನೀವು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರೋದು ಯಾವುದೂ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲಾ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನು ಕವರ್ ಅಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದಿರಾ. ಪ್ಯಾನಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ವಿಶದವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾವು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಲಹೆಗಳನ್ನು ಮತ್ತೆ ಅಣ್ಣ ಅವರು ಒಬ್ರು ಇದಾಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆ ಲೈವ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ರಾಜೀವ್ ಚಂದ್ರಶೇಖರ್ MP ಅವರು ರಾಜ್ಯಸಭಾ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಇವಾಗ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರದ್ದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಿಕಟವರ್ತಿಗಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳು. ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಮತ್ತೆ CM ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರನು.
I think we lost him.
Can I give a brief reply to what Yogada, is that pronunciation
Yes,
correct?
please. Yes, Yogada is, yeah.
So she was saying what happens to this infrastructure of metro, which has already been constructed or is in the process of getting constructed. Well, phase 1, as per BMRCL, phase 1 is complete. And phase 1 is completed and it is working since a few years. So there is nothing to be done about that as far as what we are discussing is concerned. As far as phase 2 is concerned, this consists of 6 lines, 4 extensions of the 4 corners of phase 1 and 2 other lines. So all these are also work in progress. So there's nothing to be done about them too, in terms of, for example, I have already said that Bangalore Cantonment Railway Station, what has happened is a fait accompli. We have to live with it. So it's rather unfortunate, but it's too late in the day to do anything about it. So now we are coming to what work has not yet started. They're talking about 2A, 2B, 3, and so many other things. I mean, if you look at their futuristic plan, it goes all over the place. So we're talking about those now, and we need to focus on what are the alternatives available and better alternatives available for those which are yet to take off. Once the construction is started, I always say that wherever metro construction work starts, it's like a war zone, you know, plenty of traffic being kept away, the earth dug up and trees chopped up and traffic congestion all around and all kinds of things happening. It's like a war zone. So there's nothing much to be done about wherever the work has started. We have to accept it.
Yeah, thank you. And also helping me with the word that I would like to describe, which is around my surroundings. I'm surrounded by the phase 1 green line, the line which is under construction to Electronic City, as well as the Gotigere-Nagavara line. And one of the things that I feel is choked when I go along this, right? Of course, the completed line gives me an opportunity to travel in the metro, but ಮನೋಹರ್ ಅವರೇ, ನೀವೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾ?
So Sanjeev, I just whatever
Yes.
I just want to clarify further. Hello.
Please
Hello.
go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
ಮನೋಹರ್ ಅವರೇ, ಸಂಜೀವ್ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತೇನೆ.
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಇದು ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಮೇಡಮ್?
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಿದೆ. ಹಾ,
ಮೇಡಮ್
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಿದೆ.
ನನಗೆ ಈ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ಸ್ ಬಹಳ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಯ್ತು ಮೇಡಮ್, ಬಹಳ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಯ್ತು, ಬಹಳ ಅರ್ಥಗರ್ಭಿತವಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಇದನ್ನ ಯಾವ ಫೋರಮ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಅವಕಾಶಗಳು ಬರ್ತದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ತಿಳಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಇಷ್ಟು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ ಇವತ್ತೇ ಅಷ್ಟು ಹೈಲೈಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ಪ್ಯಾನಲಿಸ್ಟ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲಾನು. ಒಂದು ಪಾವರ್ಟಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ರೋಡ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಪಾರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಒಂದು ಮರನ ಕಡ್ದಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮರಗಳು ನೆಡಬೇಕು, ಉಷ್ಣತೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿದೆ, ನೀರಿನ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಏನಿದೆ, ಗಾರ್ಬೇಜ್ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಏನಿದೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಡ್ರೈನೇಜ್ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ, PWSSP ಜೊತೆ, BDA ಜೊತೆ, BBMP ಈ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಇಲಾಖೆಗಳ ಜೊತೆ ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಪ್ರಹೆನ್ಸಿವ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಚೇಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾಮರ್ಸ್ FKCCI ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಿಗೆ ಕೋರ್ತೀವಿ. ಅವರೊಂದು ರೌಂಡ್ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಮುಂಬರುವ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಚೀಫ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ನ ಪ್ರಿವೇಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳು ಪೆಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ತ್ವರಿತಗತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡು ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, ವೆರಿ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಮೇಡಮ್, ವೆರಿ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್. ಬಹಳ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, PPT ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ಸ್, ಫೋಟೋಗ್ರಾಫ್ಸ್ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಬಹಳ ಇದಿದೆ. ಬೇಗ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ವೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಪ್ಯಾನಲಿಸ್ಟ್ಗಳು. ಅವರು ಬಹಳ
ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್, ತುಂಬಾ ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರವ್ರ ಡೊಮೇನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ತುಂಬಾ ಹಲವಾರು ಆಂಗಲ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಈ ಮೆಟ್ರೋ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗೆ. ಬರೀ ಮರ ಕಡಿಯುವುದಲ್ಲೇ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೀವಿ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಆಂಗಲ್ಸ್ ಒಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಸಹ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವರು ಸಹ ಇಂಟರ್ವೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಆಸ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಇನಿಷಿಯೇಟಿವ್. ತುಂಬಾ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್. ಓವರ್ ಟು ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಸಂಜೀವ್.
ನಾನು ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ನಮಗೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಬಹಳ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಮೇಡಮ್, ಬಹಳ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ಮನೋಹರ್, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫೋನ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಚಾಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿಬಿಡಿ. ಓಕೆ.
Sanjeev, please go.
Sanjeev. Hello.
Yes, sir. Please, Sanjeev, go ahead.
Yeah. So if you look at it, what happened? Already existing infrastructure or coming up infrastructure in this thing, because things are not planned properly and we work with only one intention. Look at what happened to the Jayadeva flyover. Then because it was built with some particular thing, just because of a metro, the whole thing has to be demolished. Hebbal, they wanted to build one more loop to decongest the road. Half the infrastructure they built, then metro came in, the airport line, they stopped the whole thing. Okay. Hebbal to a client and built according to that. In metro authorities, when the discussion with the state government and BMDC, they told BRTS has to be killed and it should not be allowed. The flyovers at Irinapalya, separate lane in between, that is for BRTS, and that has been to the toss. So it's happening everywhere. Because infrastructures are planned in such a way that with some one side in the overall city's requirement. Again, mistakes happening repeatedly and over the lines are planning. Like even look at the facilities for the metro connectivity and even the road traveling. Now they want to demolish, do a lot of things and this thing. So this is one aspect of it where the metro is going to damage a lot of things and further it's going to damage. Second thing, when if you don't encourage the proper public transport, look at the ring road when they built, or even the Hyderabad line from the road, what NH7 you call. And most of us were not aware of the law and the environment. Number of trees were lost in 2000 from 1995 onwards, when the road expansion started on the highway. Like Ballari Road was supposed to be most greenery and other things. Ring Road supposed to have more trees. Now, as the projects were coming and they demolished a lot of trees, they never planted again. So if have ground is very less. So we are not able to assess it. And further, what are all of us trying to save as much as possible. This is what is going to happen if you don't plan properly the infrastructure for public transport. Maybe the suburban rail, maybe the bus, for the security and all. So keep on paying, and we'll be living in a like what Rajkumar told, war zone type situation everywhere in the coming years. Thanks.
Thank you, Sanjeev, for adding to
Hello?
what Raj also said. Thank you, Sanjeev. With this,
Yeah.
I'll go to the next question. We had, I'll come to Mr. Kiran after Mr. Devre. Mr. Devre has, he's also the petitioner and trustee of Bangalore Environment Trust. He's also the petitioner in the Tree Act PIL, which has brought significant changes in terms of accountability, transparency in the way BMRCL goes about, for tree felling with respect to each line. So Mr. Devre, can you please unmute and speak? You wanted to say something?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So there was a question about the utilization of the current metro infrastructure. So my response to that is that the DPR of first phase had said that 8 lakh commuters will be using the metro when it starts operations. Before the pandemic in January 2020, they barely reached 5.5 lakhs. And this is happening because there is no proper intermodal connectivity. And Metro itself has identified this problem. They actually set up a committee to go into this issue. I don't know what happened to that. So the infrastructure of phase 1 is extremely low, experiencing very low utilization. And so something has to be done about that very, very quickly. Financially also, they are not doing well, and on top of all this, they want to spend another 15,000 crore rupees, it's a very, very odd, very, very funny situation. So that's number one. Number two is that, in my opinion, we have to do something very, very quickly to restore the high priority of the airport corridor. That is corridor number 1. Anyway, I'm already in touch with Rajkumar and Sanjeev on this, doing something. And I think if Growth Watch has taken up this issue and has organized a wonderful webinar today on this subject, I think there is a need to put our thoughts together and get going as early as possible, because the work on the ORR is going to start any moment. That the tenders have been awarded, and they will start that activity over there. So something we need to do very quickly. As far as the airport part is concerned, the metro airport part is concerned, I think the tenders have not yet been issued, and so to that extent, there is some time. So that must be done as quickly as possible. I want to specifically compliment Avani and her team, because the work that they have done is absolutely fabulous. And I just wanted to know, to whom have they submitted this report, and how do they really wish to pursue this? Because this part is known, it's not completely unknown, but the magnitude of the problem and the dimensions of the problem were very, very evident from Avani's presentation, and I think that needs to be pursued. All right, that's all I had to say here. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Devre. Before I hand it over to Avni, I think we only have time for one last question. We had Mr. Kiran. Can you kindly unmute if you're here and ask the question? Yeah.
Probably it's not a question.
Okay.
I think I would just like to add one perspective. Most of progressive countries around the world have one transport authority for the country, probably for a city. For example, Transport for London, or you talk about RTA in Dubai, or any of these, and they sort of integrate the overall multimodal transport plan and have a common strategy for transport across a city or urban conglomerate or something like that, where you can't favor just one mode of transport. You have to have multiple modes of transport, and people have different preferences. And for a city like Bangalore that is growing both in terms of population and in terms of area, one size fits all will not work. And generally you have an integrated approach towards mixing these modes of transport and deciding what percentage of traffic or commuters each of these modes take, and then they integrate the services to have a seamless integration. For example, if you see in Dubai, they had buses and the metro running in the same direction. And once the metro was commissioned, what they did was the buses were made to run perpendicular as a feeder to the metro in both the directions, from the metro and to the metro. And there was no bus route that was running parallel to the metro, because that was supposed to be the mode of transport. I do not see anything here. Or now, for example, we are cheering the airport line, we are cheering the suburban rail, we are cheering buses and all of that. But should we not question our government and ask, why don't you have an integrated approach towards mobility in a city of such importance? Two is, what is your design horizon? What are you planning for? Is it 30 years down the line, 50 years down the line? What is our design population? What is our design horizon? See, all these investments have a return period, and they need to have a return on investment as well. As many people said, it is our money. So are we questioning the government and asking, when am I going to get the bang on my buck? How many years is it going to come? Or is it just a bottomless pit that everybody wants to make money? You put money into it. Also the quality of design, also the quality of the solutions that are coming. I think we are not asking anybody or holding anybody accountable. You see Metro, which is a shining example of failure, is having IAS people who have no background, no qualification, nothing, running such big organizations and given in charge of such huge sums of money.
Yeah, thank you, Kiran, for highlighting that. Again, the point is, we need to ask the relevant questions. Is there, Mr. Devre is also put in the chat window that you're talking about the UMTA, whose formation has been pending for a long time as well. Yes, you're right. We also have a very peculiar problem that our city mayor, our ward councillors, our elected representatives have no idea about the metro. So metro is a central government and state government project, and they come about, and Shaheen highlighted that they look like they're part of this international lobby who are pushing the metro as a so-called cheap, green, feasible solution for cities which have population of 1 crore only, or 1+ crore. So handing it over to Shaheen and Avni, I would like to conclude, and I'm going to keep looking if there's any last questions. There are observations. Shaheen and Avni, please. In any order.
I just wanted to kind of, bring together a couple of other questions also, and, respond together to that. Like Kamal also had asked this question, and then what Kiran is saying. So see, the question of 2030, 2050, etc. Any city ideally should have a vision and should work towards that vision. Our entire vision, master planning, all of those processes are in shambles. So we have to actually, look that ahead. So that itself is one reason why probably, like Rajni was saying, we have a master plan, but the metro is not part of the master plan. It comes from somewhere else suddenly. There was a comprehensive mobility plan that was prepared, I think last year, but even that process happened without wider public consultation. Like you said, our wards are not involved in this process. BMTC, BMRCL, etc. does not come under the city administration or governance. So we have a lot of structural and procedural and many other kind of issues, because of which the larger planning process that needs to happen doesn't happen properly. But at the same time, all these other agencies are bringing in massive projects which kind of make any future planning irrelevant. If you're going to build such peripheral ring roads and satellite whatever roads, and then elevated corridors and metro and everything, while the planning is in limbo, what is the use of even, thinking of a 2030, 2050 plan by the time you've already ruined the city, which is why even when the elevated corridor project was happening and a lot of protests happened, what many of us asked for is that, can we put a stop to any more projects in Bangalore and let's think about the future and plan and vision. It's both the land use planning as well as the transport planning, which needs to happen together, and it needs to happen in a democratic manner. So for all of this, it's a totally new paradigm for a lot of things that we really need. And we're already late. I mean, if you're talking about 2030, 2050, we should already be having a plan like that, but we don't have. And we are continuing to build. So really, I mean, to respond to multiple things together, we should really stop any more building massive development across Bangalore and ask these fundamental questions. Ask for how many people are we planning? Do we have the water? Do we have the air? Do we have the basic facilities for all those people? How do we provision that? It should be part of such a discussion that we think about, what kind of mobility solution do we need and that is sustainable.
Thank you, Shaheen, for highlighting the crux of the matter. Where is the vision? Where is the plan? And we keep doing this band-aid every now and then. Over to you, Avni.
Thanks. I want to make two main points here. First is, of course, in respect of the report and what our future plans are therein. The report was submitted to the monitoring committee, which was constituted by the High Court. That report was taken into consideration, but no effective action was taken thereafter, though a couple of inspections did take place. Some advice was given to the contractors saying that they must comply with the laws, but no effective action which ensured any change ever took place. So you have, of course, this issue of living conditions, and you have the issue of non-payment of wages, which work together. But insofar as what we intend to do, one is, of course, court is always an option for us. That is an option open to us. But I mean, I am a lawyer here, but I'm also part of CPIML. I'm a part of a communist party, and I'm also part of a trade union. So from the union perspective, rather than approaching a court, our tactics would, of course, always be to seek organizing, seek collective bargaining, seek unionization, and ultimately to seek collective mass organization to ensure that the rights of the workers are met. So these two will have to work in together. We are still doing what we can, and we'll see how that plays out. The second point I'd like to make is in respect of, I think what Kiran had said about it is our money and when are we going to get our bang for our buck. Now, this kind of terminology often becomes dangerous. I mean, I don't doubt that it's from the best of intentions. It is our money. It must go towards providing equitable transportation. It must go towards providing ecologically sound solutions. But at the same time, using these terms bang for your buck is something which the government tends to do while promoting profitable transportation solutions, which is exactly why this constant need for profitability in transportation solutions works to the grave disadvantage of the masses. I'm sure like Shaheen can also speak about this because they've done a lot of work on this. But this idea that BMTC or any basic amenity should be paid for by the public is something which we can do without. I'm sure that's not what you meant, Kiran, but I just wanted to raise that point because it came to my mind at that time. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and also when we talk about profitability with respect to things we would never know profitability unless the true cost of everything which is being lost is also accounted for, whether it's metro workers, wages, or the true cost of the loss of these trees, right? We don't know about that. We've not put the true cost of trees till today. The ecological loss that's happening to the city, that, like Harini pointed out, has been rapid over the years, and mainly for infrastructure projects that we know.
Sorry,
So,
just to add, when I said bang for the buck, it was quality of social life. If you see all these come in the realm of social infrastructure, and transportation has a key role to play in elevating the quality of life of a individual in the country. And by our government is supposed to take care of our needs. And transportation is one of the needs, and in urban centers, that is the most important, one of the most important needs. I think that there are no probably big transport infrastructure projects which have really broken even or even paid for themselves. I don't think even efficient metros like London Underground, I don't think they've ever recovered the cost they've incurred in putting that metro system in place. But then the intangible benefits are the ones, when I said bang on buck, it is these intangible benefits. How much less will people wait on the road? How quickly will they reach home? How quickly can they commute to a place? These are the things we have to hold our governments accountable for. Is now, for example, in the CBD, they say the average speed of traffic movement is 8 kilometers an hour. Can they bring it down to something like 20 kilometers an hour? How long will they take? How much time people spend on the roads? How much petrol people burn waiting on the roads? These are the things I think is what I meant.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, what began as a 2-hour discussion and questions has gone on to 2.5 hours, because the depth was there, the width was there, and we had to cover it. And I don't think we still know everything that needs to be known, which means we need to do our own homework as well as citizens. And that's what we started out with, saying, let's start this discussion, collaborate. And like Mr. Devri highlighted, like Ms. Raj highlighted, alternatives have existed all along. Like people who are here have worked for years. The alternatives are there. They have been tried. They have been tested. And in the midst of the pandemic, do we need this alternative that, do we need the metro at this time, at this cost, and at this speed is all that we're asking. So let's collaboratively work on asking the right questions to the people in power. We'll work together even after this session. We hope to bring back another panel the next week or the week after, depending on the time that we have, because let's remember that the same team which is here is also working in the back end, researching, putting out letters to the people in public. All of the panelists have been helping many citizens do this for not just this project, but many projects. So we need to be alive, alert, awake, and find time in the midst of our busy lives to do this, is all I would like to say. And thank you from Growth Watch. Thank you to the panelists for being here. Thank you one and all. Avni, Shaheen, Raj, Sanjeev, and also to Professor Harini, who has sent us her lovely PPT. I will ask her and share it with people. Some of you want to see it because she's really brought out some core aspects in that. Sandhya, anything you would like to add that I missed?
No, I think Rajni, you've covered it all. Thank you to all the panelists, and of course, thank you to many of you who've taken time out on a weekend to participate in this conversation. And I think that's the first step. If we can continue this conversation beyond this session, I think that's what we need. We need collective citizen resistance to make the right choices. The post-pandemic scenario is different, and I think it needs a relook. And hence, at this point of time, a metro line is not what we need. We need additional planning, and we need reflection on what our city really needs. So we need citizen participation. We need resistance from the citizens to really stop the metro from going ahead. So on that note, I'd say have a good weekend, and we will see you soon, either the next weekend or the weekend after that. We will continue the series and we will continue this conversation. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. We will connect on suburban rail and bus transport, everything. Yes, Shaheen, bus too. Thank you.
Thank you.